Hello, all you people. Going to get started right meow. 7 o'clock is going to try to be our start time, 7 a.m. Mountain Time. Putting that 8 Central, 9 on the East Coast, 6 on the West Coast. Kind of neglected you guys. You guys can catch up later. Mainly for my UK friends because Americans are so lazy that they don't get up early. But here we go. I'm going to hit you with some intro music.
You are tuned in to Iggy's Fantasy and Betting, the podcast that puts trophies on your mantle and money in your pocket. Now, your host, coming to you high from the Rocky Mountains, IDP Iggy.
Hey, hello everybody listening on the podcast and watching live on the stream. Don't forget every Mondays and Thursdays we're going to be going live, possibly going live with the betting show as well. We'll just have to see where it's all going on Friday. But first question to start it off, is the intro music too long? Is it too long if I start a video? I may have to shorten it down some. A minute. A lot of people just can't sit there a minute. Maybe start it and then get your coffee ready, get your pen and pencil ready, and your paper, get your notes ready, because hopefully you're watching the show and taking notes because that's why you would be up over 20 units. That's why you would be playing these people, picking up these people off the waiver wire that we talked about yesterday, and you'd be playing these people that we're going to be talking about today in the player pine, right? That's kind of where we're at with it in this moment, So I hope you're paying attention. I hope you're utilizing it because thoughts without actions are just that, thoughts, nothing. So you got to put this stuff into action to help you get to where we're trying to go with it, okay? Today is Player Pine Thursday. We have hashtag LAR versus SEA. That's Los Angeles Rams for Seattle. Chief Seattle for you UK people, or for you American people, because I forget people in the United States they don't really know much. They're not very educated or into what we call history. But Seattle is named after a great chief who is pretty famous for saying, more or less paraphrasing, the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. We should be treating it with a little better respect. So shout out to Seattle. I have been to the Great Northwest. I really like it up there. It's cool because when we took the train from Portland all the way to Seattle, and when you pull up to Seattle, man, you pull right up next to the stadium. Like the train starts like slowing down, like right before it. You can really see that amazing stadium that, what was it? Not the owner. One of the guys that went in with Bill Gates that really helped the city. I mean, it's developed for sound. It's a very cool looking stadium when you pull up to it. I pulled up like 2 days after Christmas on it. It was all cold and stuff. And I was like, that is a beautiful stadium, man. I really appreciate architecture. I think it's a lost kind of art. It's an unspoken kind of art. Most nowadays we just build for efficiency, but man, that stadium is something. Weird thing. They're known for being the 12th man in Seattle, right? That's kind of like their mantra. They stole it from the Texas Aggies, which I know I probably have a couple Aggie listeners out there, but screw the Aggies, but they're the original 12th man. I think Kyle Field at College Station is probably one of the most unique experiences to watch a football game. So I'm not hating on that. I think it's really cool to have tradition. I think it's really cool to have good fans. I mean, why go to a stadium and it be crappy and like nobody engaged or anything? I don't know. I wouldn't understand that to the least bit. But, they were the home of the 12th man. They were known for, you can't beat Seattle in Seattle. You got to drive, or you got to, fly all the way to the Northwest. Seattle's really far from any other professional sports team. It's the Northwest is kind of isolated geographically speaking. So it used to be a big thing. You go there, you're going to be playing in kind of cold, humid weather, cloudy. Like I always talk to you guys about bacteria, all that stuff that, people don't really factor into when you travel far is the truth. And it was a hard thing. The last 2 years though, I think Seattle won 8 games last year, or 7 or 8 games on the road. and they only won like 3 at home. And they've lost the game at home this year, and they won on the road, and then they won on the road the week 1, and they beat Seattle. I don't think they've lost a game, San Francisco. I don't think they've lost a game at Levi Stadium or wherever that new stadium is in wherever the hell it's at. It's not in San Francisco, but I don't think Seattle's lost there on the road. It's really been weird. Lately, they've been great on the road and bad at home. I don't know what that dynamic is, but the Rams are going to be coming. That's a really good offense coming. That's a pretty good interior defense coming. They got Jalen Ramsey, a corner shutdown. I'm a Russell Wilson fan. When I wrote my rankings on how I expected things to go down, I expected Seattle to get second in the division behind the Cardinals. I know it's an outlier. Trust me, I can go back and show you my week 2 power rankings. I've had Arizona at the top of the NFL since then. They're really good. All right. But the NFC West is really good. But people really hype the Rams. There's some kind of media fixation with the Rams because they're the better team in LA. They have been since they've been there. So they really pump them up, try to get LA to boost their city. I mean, if you watch that Chargers game, there were more Raiders fans than Chargers fans. It didn't really have an effect on the game that much because Herbert's so good. But from a standpoint, they really want LA to have a city, to have a team, so to speak. So they're really pumping them up. I don't know that Seattle's as bad as people are kind of making them out to be. That it's kind of like they're forgotten team almost. But before we get too much into that, let's go ahead and break down the player pine. I did tell you that I do have 2 players in there. My number one, so first off, if you're not familiar with the player pine, it's an article I started right when Sleeper first came out. Shout out to the Sleeper guys. So it's about 6 years now, 6 or 7 years I've been writing this article. And it's just my twist on starter sit. I don't go over the offensive players just because you can go find that anywhere out on the media. You can have all kinds of opinions on who's going to be better. And if you want to know who I think is going to be doing better offensively, just ask me. Ask me any position. I've been playing with every position you can imagine for over 10 years. So I feel pretty confident with my advice. I just think it's a lot more fun to write about defensive players and defenses and kickers because for the most part, let me tell you something, people neglect those positions. And if you play with those positions, they're more than likely going to be the deciding factor when you play a good team that has 2 good wide receivers, a reliable running back, a quarterback that puts over 20 points, and a tight end that can hit on a touchdown, every week. Well, when you get to the best of the best, pretty much all you guys are going to have that. So when you start reflecting on these things that get neglected, as I like to tell you, the details the championship is won in the details. You can go, I don't care what the sport is. I don't care what era it's from. It's the coaches that paid attention to the details that always end up on top. And if you're playing fantasy football for any other reason to finish first, you can play with your friends if you're one of those people that are just like, yeah, they asked me to play, I don't care. But if you're playing, you should be playing to win. That's the object of any goal when you get in competition. It's to win. And that's what we're focusing on as well. All right. So my number 1 defense to start this week, I really like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Dolphins. Now, somebody might be like, well, that's not much of a reach. Well, Tampa Bay is actually the 14th ranked defense special teams on the year. So they're very middle of the road. They've allowed 1,500 yards and 105 points through 4 games. Think about that. That's like 375 yards a game that they're winning. They shouldn't be allowing this many yards. And they've allowed 105 points. That's over 25 points a game. That's not a recipe to keep winning. You can't allow teams to keep putting up over 25 points against you and win. It's just not how it happens. But they're hosting the Dolphins. It's a perfect week for them to get back. The Dolphins are awful offensively. I don't see them doing much. So, if you've had the Buccaneers, you're probably like in this limbo, like, man, should I keep them? Should I go somewhere else? If you're streaming, they might be available because they've been so awful. All right, my second one, Minnesota Vikings. They've had some pretty bad early season woes. I would think most Vikings fans aren't too happy. I think people that have been, analyzing the Vikings probably are saying, man, they're having some bad trouble. The truth is they're the 8th ranked defense and special teams. They're just sacking people left and right. They're hosting the 0-4 Lions. That defense, everybody's all in on the Lions' offensive line. I think they're really great. Well, a really great offensive line doesn't go 0-4. I'm sorry. There's some bad coaching decision in there. That's rare in its ugly head. I try to pull for Dan Campbell. He grew up literally right. I played on the same football field as him. So I'm pulling for him, man, but he's making some bad decisions. Deeper leagues, look at Green Bay Packers. I think Joe Burrow's, that Cincinnati Bengal team's a little fraudulent. They should have lost that game once again. Bad coaching decisions. That's what we can't really plan for in fantasy football and betting. We can't plan for Urban Meyer to go for it and leave the ball. He calls it to James Robinson, who was on fire that night right before halftime. Instead, Trevor Lawrence keeps it, and they don't get the touchdown. That ends up being the pivot point in the game. You can go back to last week, and you go back and watch film like I did. The Bengals were being dominated that first half. Even if the Jacksonville Jaguars would have just kicked the field goal, I think it would have changed the mindset, the game script, and the game plan for the Bengals going forward. I think the Bengals, everybody, we all talked out early in the season, the Bengals aren't that good. Watch out for them. We all said they could be one of the worst records in the NFL. Do not get suckered into that 3-1 record. They lost to the Chicago Bears, who are an awful team. They beat a bad Pittsburgh Steelers team. They beat the worst team in the NFL. They had to come from behind to do it. I'm not buying into that Bengal hype, so you shouldn't either. Just be careful. So having said that, I think Green Bay's got a good chance to make a few plays against Joe Burrow and that defense, particularly without Joe Mixon. Kickers. I want to talk about a kicker that did really well last year and is not doing well this year. And he's playing tonight, so he's probably available in most of your leagues because he's the 25th ranked kicker. Yeah, that's pretty bad when you only have like 32, 33 kickers with points. His name is Jason Myers for Seattle. He was flawless last year. He didn't miss a field goal at all last year, but he's only had 2 field goal attempts this year. So that's what's hurting him more than anything. Or 2 field goal successful made field goals. He's only had 2. But he's going to have more than his fair share of opportunity. If Alex Collins is in, he's a good backup, right? He's not Chris Carson. He's not going to be able to get you those tough extra 2 or 3 yards. So there's a good chance they could stall out in the red zone, meaning Myers is going to have to come in and kick field goals to keep them in this game. So I like Myers. I like Prater too. I've been on him since the season. I've been on Arizona before the season. And then kind of a surprise name, Chase McLaughlin. I think the Chargers, they got a pretty stout back end defense over there. Their linebackers are good. Their DBs are good. Their defensive line's all right. So I do think Cleveland's going to have trouble against that. So I do expect McLaughlin to have a good one. Defensive line. Hey, here's a surprise name for you. Also tonight, he was also on the waiver wire yesterday. So if you didn't read that, remember, go check out Iggy's Fantasy, www.iggysfantasyandbetting.com, and you can check out all the articles, including the waiver wire, the player pine, the betting chart. All this information is right there for you. You can subscribe and to the podcast. You can go sign up for the Patreon. The only deal I have found on the internet where I give you the next month free if I don't hit the 2 bets. If I don't hit 2 bets within a month, $20. What do you have to lose? Nothing. You're getting free advice. I'm gonna just help you win money. Go do it. But I said all that to say, Sebastian Joseph Day was on the waiver wire last week. I explained to you that he's having great games. He's kind of like the Corey Littleton effect 2 years ago. Corey Littleton was a top 3 linebacker because he was playing behind Aaron Donald. Sebastian Joseph Day is going to be equally just as good because he's playing beside Aaron Donald. Buckner was not Buckner. Who else did they have? Brockers. He went to the Detroit Lions, and he was having really great success. He got hurt, but I don't think he would have continued to have that success when you play with Aaron Donald, beside Aaron Donald. He's going to get double teamed. So as long as you can win your one-on-one matchup, you're more than likely going to have a play. Russell Wilson's hard to bring down, but there's going to be opportunity. So if you need a D lineman, quick start that I think, he's available on most waivers. You could go pick him up and play him right now. I like Sebastian Joseph Day. Brian Burns, he's going to have to step it up with Shaq Thompson. Somebody else is going to have to kind of deliver that pressure. I think Brian Burns is doing it, and I think DeForest Buckner's in for a huge week against the Baltimore Ravens, as they're probably going to run the ball, probably going to run it up the middle a lot. So Buckner should get a lot of tackles. Last week's waiver wire. This is why you go read the articles. Last week's waiver wire was Matt Judon. Not only did I tell y'all to go get him, I went and got him, and he lived up to the billing against Tom Brady. He got everything I could ask for a waiver wire pick, and he's playing for me this week. And guess what? He's on Iggy's play list this week. Why? Because they're playing against this guy named Mills, a 4th or 5th round pick from Stanford that didn't really get a whole lot of games at Stanford, and it's showing because all rookie quarterbacks are sucking. I don't care what you say, how biased you are, where you went to college. They're not doing well. Bottom line, Bill Belichick he feasts like Thanksgiving on rookie quarterbacks. He has an unbelievable record against them. Houston was one of the worst teams we thought going down. I thought they were better than people were giving them credit for, but not with this backup QB. They need Tyrod Taylor in the worst way. Matt Judon, he could have a 2-sack game this weekend, and that was 2-sack games, man. That's what you want from a defensive lineman and a linebacker. Also look at Demario Davis, Quincy Williams. I told you he was on the waiver wire too. I love having that London early start game. Some people complain, I don't want to wake up early to watch this game. What are you talking about? I get to wake up. I get football at like 8 o'clock all the way to freaking 8 at night, 9 at night. Yeah, I'm all for it, baby. We're going to be live betting our ass off this week. So, we'll talk about that here tomorrow. But yeah, get ready for that. But Quincy Williams is the real deal. Imagine playing behind your brother in a professional football, and your brother's considered one of the best defensive tackles in the game, in the world. You get to play behind him. Y'all get to play in London. Probably their first time to go there. Well, Quincy Williams played there that's another reason I like him. Quincy Williams played for the Jaguars, so he's used to this process. All right. So take that for what it's worth. But I think that's a very sneaky linebacker play. At least 2 of those guys are available on most waiver wires. Go check them out. Safety, return of the Derwin. Yeah, it wasn't the Mac. It was the Derwin. And he's been doing all right. He's been putting together some games. He has a questionable tag. I know this is Derwin James we're talking about, people. I know we're a little nervous. I get that. But don't be. Don't be. Let me tell you why. Cleveland is going to round, after watching Baker Mayfield, I went back and watched every snap he threw. My God. Some people are saying he's playing it safe. Well, why even attempt to throw then? Like, why call the play call if attempting it safe means you're going to throw it hard and fast and 5 yards away from the receiver's catchable hands? There's that game script. I am not a believer in Baker Mayfield. I don't think the Browns are a believer in Baker Mayfield. Hence why the Chubb and Hunt are the number 8 and number 9 running backs right now in the NFL. They're just feeding those guys. I mean, shout out to my good friend Tybo. We were talking about this yesterday, and we come to the conclusion there's certain receivers that make the quarterback, right? And Jarvis Landry is everything to Baker. He cannot do nothing without Jarvis because Jarvis gets the separation. He's that slot receiver. They're kind of the same height. I think that matters, believe it or not. And Baker's just nothing without him. He is nothing without Jarvis Landry. So I said that because to bring it back to Derwin, I think this is going to be a high rushing volume of game. The Chargers have a better defense than people want to give them credit for, than I wanted to give them credit for. Let's start with an I statement. I went back and watched it on film, and I'm just like, good Lord. That defense is a lot better than I want to give it credit for. Micah Hyde against a pass-happy Kansas City is also a good one. Logan Ryan, probably take it in your leagues. If you're one of those leagues where you only have to start like 2 or 3 IDPs and you get to have a bunch on your bench, I highly recommend Logan Ryan this week. Julius Peppers didn't play last week. We got a rivalry game against Dallas. That's going to be a good one. Let's get to the Pines, the hard ones. This is a lot harder to say who should you not start versus who you should start. But let's just get right down to it. This is Iggy's Pines. Put them on the pine. I don't know if they have that expression in the UK. Coach would say, go put your ass on the pine, or whatever. That just meant go sit on the bench. Most benches these days are aluminum or plastic. Back in the day, they were made with wood. When I first started playing basketball, we had to sit on the old school wood bench. I guess I'm old. But talking about the Pine, hey, everybody's favorite team, San Francisco 49ers. They're a 10th ranked defense. Did y'all know that? 10th ranked defense. But have the red hot Arizona Cardinals coming to town. You do not want to have any defense against that. Kyler Murray, Cliff Kingsbury, offensive juggernaut, man. They don't have a weak link. I mean, what would you consider the weakest link for the Cardinals? Max Williams? He's better than almost all but like 8 tight ends out there right now. Rondell Moore, he's a rookie. How many rookie wide receivers are out there doing what Rondell Moore's done? AJ Green, the guy that people are saying, oh, he's washed up, don't go get him. Oh, he sucks. He's never really been that great. He's been overhyped. Are you kidding me? Do y'all remember AJ Green's metrics? Have you looked at him? Have you watched film and watched what happens when AJ Green lines up against a cornerback? He's always taller. He's always got longer arms. He's got quicker feet. Even in his old age, he is such a red zone monster. I was hyping AJ Green. I'm kind of with Andy off the fantasy footballers. I've been an AJ Green truther for a long time. I guess we're called stans, right? But I don't want any part of the San Francisco 49ers defense. That secondary, they were one of my top 5 worst ranked defenses before the season began, and nothing's really changed. Kickers, man. Let me tell you something. As a kicker, you probably grew up playing soccer or football. And I don't think young Huku is any different. I bet he was a soccer-playing son of a gun. And guess what? He's going to London. He's going to be playing on an actual soccer pitch. I mean, that's probably one of their childhood dreams to go play on, on a Premier League pitch, man. If you're a soccer fan, you don't really get much better than that. Maybe playing in a Brazil pitch. That's about as good as you can get. But the Jets defense is a little better than people think. I think the Jets have a little bit momentum. I think Zach Wilson just needed some confidence. It's kind of like the old expression, shooters got to shoot. Well, QBs have to get touchdowns and get W's. Well, not necessarily touchdowns, but they need to be driving their team down the field. That is the job of a quarterback, to get your team downfield and to win the game. Those are your two kind of main tasks if you break down the job positions. And Mr. Wilson getting those. Wait, is that Zach Wilson, right? They're getting in range, and he's getting in the rhythm. He's getting more comfortable. They had a rough go. The Jets aren't the best offensive lineman, and if you lose your best offensive lineman, you're going to be hurting. They don't have the greatest running back, so he's going to have to do more. Luckily, Atlanta does not have a great offense, so I think as long as Wilson can build some confidence, that defense is pretty good. Saleh's already getting them in shape, and I think that they could cause havoc for young Huku. That's all I'm saying. And I do think that if they do stall out, I think Atlanta's going to try to go for it with their playmakers of Ridley, Pitts, Patterson. I think they feel like they can get you on 4th and short no matter what. So I would be leery of young Huku. Let's just talk about Joey Bosa. I'm kind of sick of the Bosa brothers already. Spoiled brats that had their father in the NFL, had every opportunity given to them to get better, to be an NFL player, going to private schools, coached by Chris Carter when they were in high school. I mean, they just have that silver spoon coming out of every orifice in their body. And it shows. And it shows when they speak. They're very quite arrogant. Joey Bosa, if you listen to that post-game conference on Monday, I'm about to nail Joey Bosa's ass. If you think that was a great performance by you, buddy, you are fucking fooling yourself, because you can go back and look on the film and see you had one play, buddy. And it was a big one. You did your job. You got a sack, strip, fumble. If you get one of those, that's a big deal. You get some big fantasy points. If you take away that one play, you know how many points Joey Bosa's got? 0. And you can go to several games where Joey Bosa puts up 1 point, 1.5 point, half a point, because he ain't really tackling nobody. He ain't going to chase down a play if it's running the opposite side of him. He's not that talented. He has one skill set, rushing the passer. Is that an important skill set? That's what his father did, so I'm sure he's going to be quite good at it. They're all great at it. I don't knock that, but the arrogant kind of, well, we knew if we got the car and we pressured him, he's not any good. That's a shitty offensive line over there for the Raiders, in case you haven't noticed. So go ahead and pat yourself on the back for beating a suspect offensive line at best. But you did not do very much, my friend. You got chipped a few times, but you did not win your one-on-ones. I'll tell you that, Mr. Bosa. I'm looking right in the camera talking to you. You did not win your one-on-ones. You did not do well. You did not deserve to be able to have that press conference, because basically I could just say, well, you just basically one-on-one Joey Bosa any matchup, and you're good. Chip him with the tight end, chip him with the running back. He ain't doing nothing. Nothing. So pine his ass this week, because he ain't doing nothing this week. I said it. Matt Milano, man. I love Matt Milano. I've been a Buffalo truther since Sean McDermott arrived, man. I'd say I liked him even when they had Wade Phillips way back in the gap. But he's hurt, and he got hurt last game. It was by far his lowest production. He had to leave the game. He wasn't coming back. 1.4 points. That hurt some of y'all. That may have cost some of you guys some games. The Chiefs throw around the ball quickly. Anyway, they kind of run an up tempo offense, and they hit the sidelines a lot. They don't really throw down the middle of the field just a whole bunch, to be honest with you. So Milano, even if he was healthy, I think there's a possibility he would have had kind of a poor outing. So he may not play. So just watch him. I would just pine him. Look elsewhere. Defensive back, Eric Harris, man. Who? Eric Harris, Atlanta. He had 14.6 points last week. He's had at least 4 tackles in every game. Most of the time, 5 or 6. That's quite a bit for a DB. He's battling through an injury, though. He's got 5 passes defended. That's more than 1 a game. That's great. You can't ask for a whole lot more. He's battling through an injury. I just said Atlanta. They're playing that very early game. So if a lot of you people are just going to leave somebody in there, don't leave it to chance. Watch him, or just go get somebody else and plug him. And if he says he's good to go, if you wake up in time, which you should, then go put him back in. It's that simple. But I would not risk it leaving a roster position in an earlier than normal time slot for a lot of people. And if they just get 0, man, it's hard. It's hard to come back from a 0 point. If you're just handicapping yourself, and you don't want to do that, man. So that's all the player pine. Pretty proud of it. A lot of good stuff. Let's take a look right here. Rams 2.5 points on the spread, -110. 54. They dropped it a half a point on the over under. I think if you tease that up, I think if you tease that down, It should be a safe over, but it's Thursday. Always be careful with Thursday games. Less preparation. People are hurt. Injuries almost always happen on Thursday because people are already hurt. So just keep that in mind as well. We got Rams. I think, like I said, I think that's the safest bet. Let's just look at anytime touchdown score. I think that's kind of going to be an interesting angle for us to look at. And then I'm going to build a quick DFS lineup for you right here using DraftKings. Just a free one, penny one. I'm not going crazy on a Thursday one. Well, you do get $2 today on your DK if you go get your prize. So maybe play a $2 one. Let's see. Anytime touchdown scorer. It's hard. I see a lot of people love betting on the touchdown score. Because the odds are so good, right? I get it. You put a couple of those in a parlay, you're doing great. But keep in mind, only one person can score a touchdown at a time. It doesn't matter who it is, defensive, offensive, I don't care. Only one person can carry the football at a time. So if you get an average of 5 touchdowns a game, that means only 5 people out of everybody on both sides of the ball is probably going to score a touchdown. Looking at the just under evens, Henderson Jr. is supposed to get one. Seattle has kind of a poor running defense. I don't get that with Brooks and Wagner, but he's at -110. Tyler Lockett's at +100, but above him, so they must have just moved his line. -110 for Chris Carson. I'm not sure if he's going to play. Cooper Kupp, -130. Let's take a look at Alex Collins. Where's he at? Where are you at, Mr. Collins? There he is, +100. Not better odds, so they're playing it safe. I think that there will definitely be a touchdown by Cooper Kupp, so I think I agree with the bookies. DK Metcalf's a little hurt, but I think he's going to be able to expose these small cornerbacks. +105, I like that one too. All right, let's build the DFS lineup. Go to the lobby. Last little thing we'll do, Showdown Classic Mode. Los Angeles Rams at Seattle. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see, 10,000, baby. The Crocs battle. You can win some money, and you don't got to pay 1 penny. You got to love that, right? You're going to be playing against a lot of people, but it's worth it. Man, Cooper Kupp has the highest captain rating. Good Lord. I was going to go with him, but not for 18,000. That just really handicaps the rest of my team. What's the tag on Carson? What's the deal? Still questionable. Non-participant. You know what? Let's just take a gamble. It's free. We're not losing anything. Let's go look at Alex Collins. He's only $4,800. My Lord have mercy. So now we have 9,000 average for all the rest of these players. Some of these players are really expensive. I'm not going to lie. So let's go get Henderson. That moves us to 92,000. I've already said Cooper Kupp, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford. So that leaves us with only 1,200 if I go that route. Man, let's go back. We're going to have to take one of those off because I can't have somebody that bad. Oh, man. Let's take off Russ. Now that gives us 13,000 to kind of play around with. Who do we want? Tyler Higbee, 5,600. Van Jefferson, 4,800. Fred Swain, 2,200. Man, oh man. Let's go Higbee. That leaves us 7,400. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. Man, oh man, that's a tough one. Let's go Tyler Lockett. And we'll come back and we're going to take off. Man, this is tough. This is tough, tough, tough. They've priced it where you can't get it. Just anybody you want. You know what? I went this way. All of a sudden, sometimes the answers are right there before you because it's Jacoby Myers. I told you to go playing. Let's play him in our DFS lineup. And let's review it. Collins, Henderson, Kupp, Lockett, Myers, Stafford. Book it, Dano. There we go, guys. That's it. That's the show for you. That's it. Let me read the DFS lineup one more time for you guys, just so you got it. Collins is our captain. We went super cheap. That allowed us to keep Kupp, Henderson, Lockett, and Stafford. Our other cheap option is Jacoby Myers, man. Thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it. Hit me up with any of your questions you may have for tonight or any other night. I'm glad to be here with you. Remember, we're going to start doing the live streams Mondays, Thursdays, possibly Fridays. All right, guys, take care and have a good week, or have a good night. You okay, babe? Anything? You pretty sleepy? Yeah. Could be MT then, babe. Could just be MT then.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Oh shit, my fucking thing's still on. Hope you like that bonus footage.